Powered by GoGoat Sports in partnership with TSN. This is season 4, proudly presenting episode 20 of the Ray and Dregs podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Canadian Club Whiskey. We've got Tampa Bay Lightning winger Corey Perry joining us. And Corey Perry, normally Ray Ferraro, would be a great guest, right? I mean, he's such a fierce competitor. He's played a ton of hockey, so many good teams, all of that. But the primary reason for bringing Corey Perry on the podcast is because he just scored his 408th career goal. And as you acknowledged in episode 19, what keeps the smile on your face with those players who are now matching your goal total in your NHL career is the fact that even alphabetically, you're technically still ahead of Corey Perry.
Oh, yeah. He needs 409. He needs 409 or he's behind me. I mean, let's be honest. And I'm going to hang on to that until the very last second when he gets another crappy rebound goal or tips another shot in. He's the master at it.
It's coming, man. You know.
It is amazing, Dregs. Like, so I did a pile of Tampa games in the last year or so. How often you'd look up the ice because the play would be going back up the ice. The whistle would blow, and I didn't even have to look, but I knew that he was in the middle of something around the goalie, and there'd be bodies all tangled up, and and he comes out of there with that look of, oh, I don't even really know what happened, and it's brilliant because he's been doing it for almost 20 years, right? Almost 20 years he's been in the NHL. He's had a terrific career.
It's unreal. Looking forward to spending some time with Corey Perry on the podcast today. By the way, you're back at home. This is the home office. Well, part of the home office.
That's
how you feel
area back there. I feel terrible. I feel good, but I feel anybody that's had a long flight, you think you've got some energy, and like 7 minutes after you wake up, you're like, ooh, I'm a little tired. And then, of course, if I think about it, it's dinner time in Germany, and it's early here, so I'm glad to be home. Dog was excited. Kids noticed. So Cammy came back after a game, so saw her late, and it's nice to be home. But I had a great trip. It was awesome.
Excellent. All right, well, let's dive into headlines presented by our friends at Boston Pizza. And challenging story. We don't see it often where restricted free agents don't sign by the December 1st deadline, but that's exactly what went down for Alex Formenton and the Ottawa Senators. And for anyone who doesn't know what that means, who's listening or watching the podcast, what it means is Alex Formenton is now ineligible to play in the National Hockey League for the remainder of the season. So Ottawa's reasoning behind this, clearly goes beyond hockey, but from a purely hockey perspective, now in hindsight, and it's easy to look at this through the lens of hindsight, Formenton should have accepted his qualifying offer, forced Ottawa's hand. Ottawa says, look, we feel our reasons for not signing you are legit. They walk away. He becomes a free agent. Instead, now Ottawa can't trade Formenton, and Pierre Dorion tried. He tried to trade him right up until the 5:00 Eastern deadline for restricted free agent signings on Thursday. He was unable to do that. So Formenton now potentially finds a home in Europe to play this year. Ottawa can still sign or trade his rights, but he's ineligible. And I suppose he could sign an offer sheet, but again, would be ineligible for this season. I mean, we understand part of the logic, which we don't need to get into, but it's just weird that this is, from a hockey standpoint, Ray, you would probably agree he's a good player. He's a good player and probably will be a good player for a long time.
He is. I mean, there's the story is the story, and everybody dances around it for legal reasons more than anything, I believe.
Yeah.
Correct me, Dregs, though. What was the timeline of the story coming out versus the free agent offer sheet? Not
qualifying
offer sheet, the qualifying offer deadline. Because I wonder if, because I can't quite in my head, because that deadline was July 12th, I think, this year.
Right. Yeah.
And so I don't know. I don't know the timing of that. Maybe that's why that offer sheet wasn't accepted or signed or whatever. But it's I mean, it continues to be not just with Formenton in general, just just a terrible story.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, we'll follow everything associated as we push forward. But again, legally speaking, it's all just speculation.
Mm.
We know dating back to 2018, no proof, and the guilty until proven innocent attachment to this is somewhat problematic as well. But again, something that we'll continue to deal with and follow moving forward. To Corey Perry's teammate, Steven Stamkos, who recorded his 1,000th point last night. We'll ask Corey about that, obviously, but man, I don't know. Again, in your travels, whether you had the opportunity to see any of the post-game celebrations, another opportunity for the league to do it right. In this case, Tampa Bay does allow us into the dressing room to see John Cooper, with a real brief speech, just handing the 1,000 puck, the symbolism of the night, over to Victor Hedman to present to Corey Perry, who then immediately crushes a Bud Light. So it's just an old school, wonderful minute or two of celebrating a career that is far from over, but significant in every way, shape, or form. The perseverance, the Stanley Cups, the star status, all of it.
Well, when I look at the totality of Stamkos's career, he was when he was drafted, and was one of the most exciting players in the game. The way he skated, the way he could score, the way he was the focal point of everything that Tampa was doing. And then he got hurt, and he got hurt badly, and had a couple of years of real questionable results because he just wasn't able to do the things he needed to do that made him special. He just wasn't able to do it. And then he's had this second act, this resurgence, and he's really dialed the clock back. He really has. A couple of years ago, I remember watching him. I was doing a game, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe he's skating like this. And then once he started to skate like that again, everything else followed for him. It just opens up the game for him. And of course, Tampa's a terrific team. The 1,000 points is an amazing milestone, and to do it all in one place is really remarkable. You can really see it and feel it when you're there. The longevity those guys, a lot of that team has had together, makes that even more special for the guys who get to celebrate it with Stamkos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and as you know, one milestone normally lends itself to another, and now we watch the 500 goal march for Stammer, right? So I think he's at 494 as they get set to take on the Leafs on Saturday. It was just so cool to see how grateful and happy he was post game. Just one of the good guys in the sport. Two younger players making headlines on a game by game basis, and we can't ignore these players. We talk about Jason Robertson and Mitch Marner basically every segment of headlines on the podcast because they're just not going away in their push. Jason Robertson with a hat trick on Wednesday night. He's got 23 goals in a 17-game point streak. I don't know how much more you can say about him, Ray. And then on top of that, you've got Marner, who equaled, the status of Eddie O and Daryl Sittler of the Toronto Maple Leafs in recording 18 straight games with a point.
Well, it's funny when I check online, and as I was getting home here, and I see that Robertson scored, and then I see the highlight, and it's from behind the net. It hits the other guy, hits the defenseman's stick, and goes in. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess when you're hot, you get a break like that. And then he gets two more.
Yeah,
like, yeah, you got to be lucky, but I mean, this is clearly far beyond luck for these guys. I mean, the ability to produce on a nightly basis. We're coming up to a quarter of the season in their streaks. Yeah. Just think of that. 1/4 of the season, they've had a point in a game in a row. And I did get a kick out of Marner trying to, pass to somebody else to extend the streak. And talking after, the way the guys are like, just shoot the puck. Like, man, you got it. Just shoot it in the net yourself. And so 18 games for the season that he has, the importance that he has to the Leafs. And, wasn't that long ago we were talking about what a mess the Leafs were. And here they are in the top 5 in the league. And what I think is impressive, honestly, is Marner's put this streak together. The Leafs have gone on a tremendous run. They had a great November. And yet Marner's game hasn't slipped away defensively, because he's one of the more complete players in the game. He really is. And I don't think people view him like that, but I do. I'm just impressed that the Leafs go on this run by giving up less goals, which must make them shake their head a little bit, because they've been trying to get to this for a while. Maybe this is a step that they had to take with the injuries on defense. But to Marner's streak and to Robertson's streak, amazing. Just amazing, consistent production.
Could say something similar about the Seattle Kraken, which I hesitate because it just seems strange to be able to say that about the Seattle Kraken. Top 5 in the National Hockey League right now. Top 5 of 32 teams in the NHL. What a wild but terrific start for this franchise. And you can see the future, right? It's not just about some of the pieces like Schwartz or Eberle, the veteran experience of those guys. I mean, who did Yanni Gord fight last night? I mean, the TJ Oshie. Like, who had that? Who had that on their fight card going into the night? And then Matty Beniers. I mean, you've talked a fair bit about Matt Beniers through this start, the Seattle Kraken. He gets it in overtime to give the Seattle Kraken their 7th straight win. This has gone beyond the range of a good start or a fluke start by a team that still has a ton of growth ahead.
Well, it's funny, when Ron Francis drafted that team, he went heavy on defense, and then they traded, they trade or just free agent signed Philip Grubauer, so they didn't use a pick on Grubauer. And all of a sudden, they come out of the gate and Grubauer's not very good, and, which they were really counting on, and they couldn't score. I mean, and so there was all kinds of criticism. It's funny how that criticism comes and then it just goes away. It's like it's out in the wind. Nobody acknowledges, oh yeah, maybe Ron had it right. Remember the criticism of no Van Riemsdyk? Gee, why did they draft James Van Riemsdyk? He was there. There was another couple of high-priced forwards that were there. I thought if I were managing, I would have attacked offense first and got to defense later, because I think the offense is harder to get. Francis did it in reverse of my thought. Of course, don't forget, I look at it in the immediacy. He's looking at, okay, if we draft these defensemen and these more complete players, next summer the free agent class is going to look a little different. Next year the cap is going to be tight and teams are going to have to move guys. So they add Burakovsky from Colorado. They add Bjorkstrand, who really hasn't even gotten untracked yet. They add Beniers. 5 of their top 9 forwards weren't there last year, and that includes Schwartz, who was hurt most of the season. They're a completely different team. But one thing just to keep an eye on from the, when things wiggle in your brain and you're like, oh, I still want to see that. They've used almost the entire year. I think only 4 games have they not had the starting 6 defensemen. Like, they've been remarkably healthy on the blue line. And of course, that really helps. And that's not their fault. That's, while you're riding this wave, ride it. But man, they look confident. They were down 2-0 last night. Last night being Thursday. And they come all the way back. And if you haven't seen Matty Beniers play, just watch him. He's talented. He's fun. He's really fast. And what did he score? 6 seconds, or was it 7 seconds? It took
7
in
seconds
overtime.
into OT. Yeah.
I mean, guys are still getting a drink of water on the bench and adjusting their seat, like wherever they're supposed to go, so they can be the next shift and the game's over. There you go.
By the way, I know he's a friend of yours. He's a friend of mine, Johnny Forsland, who does play-by-play for the Seattle Kraken. We've heard that call a million times. Hey, what do you say? But it's just so fitting. 7 seconds into overtime with Matty Beniers getting the winner for the
Well, and now
Kraken.
he's added, that's Kraken hockey, baby.
Oh, yeah.
I
So
love it.
good. Terrific. Time for one more quick thought. And I bring this up kind of out of the blue, but, Calgary doesn't take it on the chin. They lose to the Montreal Canadiens in overtime. Cole Caulfield gets the winner.
What a shot.
Calgary.
By the way, if I can jump in,
Yeah.
that Suzuki to Caulfield pass and goal, it's a rocket
Ridiculous.
pass across the seam. And Caulfield hits it like a cannonball. Man, I just love that. I love watching that.
Suzuki he's quickly becoming one of my favorite players just because of how smart he is. And now you've got the swagger to go along with the sense and the creativity. And look, Calgary would feel for large portions they outplayed the Montreal Canadiens. So I'm going to get to my point here quick. Recently, Ray, we've had 2 elite level goaltenders come out and just skewer themselves, right? Igor Shesterkin, I'm ashamed. Said he's ashamed of how poorly he's played for the New York Rangers this season to this point. And Jacob Markstrom comes out post-game and just dives on the sword, right? I need to work harder. I need to do a better job of stopping the puck. And look, that's self-analysis, and he's on point because pretty much every start, Markstrom has given up a bad goal at some point in the hockey game. So just based on history, though, you're confident that these 2 guys, Shesterkin and Markstrom, are going to find their way again here, right?
I am. It's not as quick, though, sometimes as the teams want and need it to be. It's a lot easier to lose your way than it is to get it back. And you can't rely on anybody else because no matter what happens in front of you, the puck comes to you. You either stop it or you don't. And and things are happening fast. Like Markstrom got way out of position there on the one goal.
Way
and now, like he made a read and the read is wrong, and that happens 50 times a game in front of him, and nothing happens. He makes it, and he looks like a fish out of water. Right, he's out by the top of the circles. But it is concerning because I think last year you knew what the Flames were. They had their identity locked in, and this year they just don't score. They do not score, and you couple it with a goaltender that's stopping the puck 88% of the time, which Markstrom is, and you got a problem.
Those are our headlines. Thanks again to Boston Pizza. Our interviews on Ray and Dregs this season are brought to you by Canadian Club Whiskey, who are asking, are you over beer? Why not try a refreshing CC Ginger Ale next time you're having a drink or watching a game?